Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. You ready to take some amazing photos for your Airbnb?
Always.
All right, well, today we're going deep on DIY photography,
Mm,
specifically for vacation rentals.
Love it.
So get your phones out. We're going to make those listings really pop, attract more guests. You know the drill. We found this awesome guide,
Oh, yeah.
and it's packed with tips, like how to stage your property. Now, when I hear staging, I think fake furniture. Nobody actually lives there, you know?
Right. I used to think the same thing, but it's not like that at all, really. More like you're curating what you want guests to feel when they see the pictures.
Hmm. So strategic presentation,
Yeah.
not like being deceptive.
Exactly. Setting the right vibe, getting them excited to actually stay there.
Okay, I'm starting to get it. So the guide actually goes room by room?
It does. Some pretty cool advice in there.
Spill it. Where do we start?
Well, kitchen and bathroom, obviously sparkling clean, right?
Always gotta have that.
But they take it a step further. Strategically place amenities. Tell a story.
A story. Okay, now I'm really curious. What kind of story?
Like, imagine a bowl of fresh fruit on the counter or a bottle of wine. Two glasses next to it, all fancy.
Ah, I get it. Like you're setting the scene for guests to be like, oh, I want to be there relaxing, enjoying that.
Precisely. It's not just the space, it's the feeling.
Mm.
Then in the living room, they talk about the pillows, arrange them all comfy looking. Maybe a nice throw blanket on the couch.
Oh, and if you've got a fireplace, light it up. That instant cozy vibe.
Absolutely. And this one spoke to me personally. Hide those wires. We all got them, but they really clutter up a picture. Tuck them away or use those cord organizers. Makes everything look cleaner.
Oh, guilty as charged on the cord situation.
Eh.
All right, bedrooms. Any secrets to make those look extra inviting?
Natural light is your best friend there. They suggest opening those balcony doors, curtains, whatever you've got. Makes the space feel bigger. And here's a detail I loved. Roll up those towels, like artfully, at the foot of the bed. And when you smooth out the sheets, pull from the corners. Not your hands. Less wrinkles, apparently.
I never would have thought of that. It's all in the details, huh? Okay, last but not least, outdoor space. Gotta make that shine, right?
Oh, yeah. This is prime real estate for those photos. They talk about that relaxed, inviting vibe. Think sun chair, perfectly positioned, book on the side table, maybe a refreshing drink there, too. And a hat, like casually tossed on the seat.
Painting the picture of vacation, I like it. All right, so our space is staged, we're feeling good. Now, gotta break out the fancy camera equipment, right?
Actually, that's the best part. This guide really emphasizes you don't need that expensive stuff. Your phone can do amazing things.
Yes, seriously. That's a relief, because my photography skills are more point and hope for the best.
That's the beauty of it. They focus on those basic phone camera settings because in the end, the photographer is more important than the camera itself.
I like that philosophy. Okay, so talk to me about those camera basics. What are the must-knows?
All right, first up, exposure and focus. Easiest way to adjust that, just tap on the screen. You're basically telling the camera, hey, this is what I want to be bright and sharp.
So if I tap on that amazing view outside my window,
The camera will prioritize that and make it the star of the show.
perfect. What's next?
White balance. So this one helps make the colors in your photo look true to life. You know, not too blue, not too yellow. You can usually just leave this on auto mode unless things look really off.
Okay, white balance on autopilot unless there's a color emergency. Makes sense.
Like, yeah.
What else?
Oh, the lock your look feature. This is super helpful when you've got your exposure, your focus, all perfect, but you want to move the camera just a bit to adjust the framing, you know? Most phones, you just tap and hold on the screen. It locks those settings in.
So the lighting stays consistent even if I move the camera a little. Otherwise, you could end up with a photo that's like half bright, half dark.
You got it. Now, this next one is a game changer, especially with those tricky window shots, HDR.
That sounds kind of technical. What's HDR all about?
It's simpler than it sounds. It stands for high dynamic range, but basically it takes multiple exposures from dark to bright and combines them into one perfectly balanced picture. You can see details in the shadows, A and D, the highlights.
So no more photos where the room looks great, but the view out the window is just a white blob.
Exactly. It evens things out, makes everything look more realistic and well lit.
I'm feeling more confident already.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's next on this photo journey?
All right, now that we've got our camera settings dialed in, it's time for the actual photo shoot. We'll talk about light, which is honestly the most important factor. And I'll share some common mistakes so you can avoid them and make those photos really shine.
Oh, this is getting good. I've got my phone and my notepad ready. Listeners, you should too.
All right, so we're diving into the photo shoot itself, got those camera settings figured out.
You bet. Feeling like a pro already. But honestly, usually I just kind of, take pictures whenever the mood strikes. Is there like a strategy to this whole lighting thing?
Oh, yeah, big time. Working with that natural light, key to making your space feel warm, inviting in those photos. For outside shots, easy rule. Sun behind you.
Okay, so the property's all lit up nice, no weird shadows. Makes sense. But what about inside? Any tricks for that?
Actually, they say partly cloudy days are perfect for indoor shots.
Really? Why is that?
Clouds act like a giant diffuser, softens the sunlight coming through the windows.
So it's like natural softbox. I get it.
Exactly. Harsh sunlight can be tough to work with. You get those super bright spots, dark shadows. But before you even start snapping away, they've got a couple more simple tips.
Simple is my middle name. Well, not really, but you know what I mean. Hit me with them.
First, turn on all the lights. Sounds obvious, but it makes a huge difference. Brightens up the space and open those curtains, doors, let that natural light pour in.
Makes the place look bigger, more welcoming, in photos and in real life. Oh, and this one's kind of funny but important. Wipe your camera lens.
Oh, good call. Even a little smudge can mess things up. Microfiber cloth does the trick.
Okay, lens is clean, lights are on, curtains open. Ready to compose those masterpieces.
Hold on there, speed demon. The guide actually talks about 3 big mistakes people make when they're photographing their space. Makes the rooms look small, uninviting.
Oh, I've probably done all of them. Tell me, I need to know.
Mistake number 1, standing too far into the room.
So like crammed in the corner, trying to get everything in.
Yeah, exactly. They say step back as far as you can, maybe even stand outside the room. Use a doorway or archway to frame the shot.
So you're giving the viewer a better perspective. Makes sense.
Uh-huh.
What's mistake number 2?
Lifting the camera up to eye level and pointing down at the furniture distorts everything.
Makes it look cramped. Yeah, I've seen that.
Yep. Instead, lower the camera about waist level, point straight ahead.
More natural, like someone's actually standing in the room looking around.
Exactly. And that brings us to mistake number 3, similar to the last one. Pointing the camera down at furniture. Makes ceilings look low, room feels small.
So basically, keep that camera level, aimed straight ahead. Got it. Step back, lower the camera, point straight. Easy enough to remember. Any other advice to make rooms look more spacious? Really sell it.
Experiment with angles. Shooting from a corner can add depth. Highlight those cool architectural details you might miss otherwise.
Ooh, I like that. Shows off the character of the space.
Right. And don't be afraid to take a bunch of pictures from different spots. More options to choose from when you're editing later. Speaking of which, bathrooms. This can be tricky.
Oh yeah, small spaces, weird angles. What's the secret?
They specifically say, avoid making the toilet the focal point.
Probably good advice. Not exactly the most glamorous thing.
Focus on the sink, the mirror area instead. Nice vanity, unique tiles, that kind of stuff. And for really small bathrooms, they recommend a wide-angle lens attachment for your phone.
Oh, clever. I've got a tiny bathroom that I've struggled to photograph well. That might be just the trick. All right, what about outdoor shots? Got to capture that curb appeal, make people want to book instantly.
They say find those angles that show off your property's best features. Shoot from the backyard to make the house look bigger. Try to get multiple things in one shot. Yard, cool, whatever you've got tells more of a story.
Creating that sense of place, yeah.
Right. And they mentioned taking advantage of golden hour. It's that time right after sunrise or just before sunset. Light is all warm and glowy.
Oh yeah, golden hour. It's like nature's Instagram filter.
Exactly. Really makes those outdoor shots special. Okay, so we've talked staging, camera settings, working with light, composition. How are you feeling so far?
My head is spinning, but in a good way. Feeling like I can actually do this. But we're not quite done yet, are we? What about editing? I'm no Photoshop expert.
Don't worry, the guide assures us you don't gotta be. There are tons of easy-to-use apps out there. They recommend one called Snapseed.
Snapseed, okay. I'll check that out. So what kind of edits should I even be making?
They break it down into basic adjustments and then some more advanced stuff. Basic ones are things like cropping to improve the composition, exposure to make it brighter or darker, rotating if it's crooked, and saturation to make those colors pump a bit more.
Okay, those sound pretty straightforward. What about the advanced ones? Are those hard to figure out?
Nah, not really. They talk about highlights, shadows, and perspective. Highlights are the brightest parts. Sometimes they can be a bit too bright, especially around windows, so you can bring those down a little.
Makes sense. And shadows, those can be too dark sometimes, right? Lose detail.
Exactly. You can use that shadows adjustment to brighten them up, reveal more detail.
Okay, highlights and shadows, got it. What about perspective? Is that for when you accidentally tilt the camera and the lines are all wonky?
Yep. That perspective adjustment will straighten those lines right out, especially important for photos of rooms. Makes the image look more polished.
Wow, I'm starting to think I could actually make my photos look semi-professional with this.
Mhm.
Any other editing gems they dropped?
Oh yeah, this is an important one. Turn off auto brightness on your device. And when you're editing, max out the screen brightness.
Okay. Why is that so important?
You want to see the colors and details in your photos as accurately as possible, right? Auto brightness can mess with that, make you think you're making adjustments that you're not.
So it's like creating a controlled environment for editing. Got it.
Exactly. One last tip for editing. Back up your original photos. Just in case you mess something up or want to go back to the beginning. Cloud service, external hard drive, whatever works for you.
Always good advice. All right, we've covered staging, shooting, and editing. I think we're ready to create some Airbnb photo magic.
That's the spirit, but guess what? There's more. The guide doesn't stop there. They've got 5 bonus tips, specifically for getting more bookings.
Okay, now you're talking. Let's hear them. Hit me with those booking boosting tips.
Number 1, they really stress that professional photos are an investment, especially if you're a brand new host. Makes all the difference in attracting those first few bookings and building your reputation.
Yeah, you got to make a good first impression, especially in a crowded market.
Yay!
Okay, what's tip number 2?
Cover photo strategy. That cover photo. It's your first impression. It's what will either make people click or keep scrolling.
So it's got to be eye-catching. How do we choose the right one?
They say, check out your competition. What are other hosts using? What stands out to you? And how can you make your listing different?
Ooh, good point. Like doing market research for your photos?
Yeah.
I like it. What's tip number 3?
First impressions, but like on another level, they say people decide in seconds whether to consider a listing.
Seconds, okay, no pressure.
Exactly. So they say put your best photos first, like top 5, 7 slots. That's what's going to hook them.
Front load the good stuff. All right, tip number 4. What we got?
Bash your photos.
Batch. What does that even mean?
Basically, group photos of the same room together. You're creating a flow, almost like a virtual tour, helps guests understand the layout better.
Oh, that's smart. Way better than just a random jumble of pictures.
For sure. They actually told this story about a host, had like 79 photos, totally random order. People couldn't figure out what went with what room. It was a mess.
Oof, yeah, sounds frustrating for everyone.
Exactly. So batching, clarity, visual organization, super important.
All right, batching check. What's the final tip? The grand finale.
This one might surprise you. It's the captions.
Wait, really? I usually just kind of glance over those. Are they that important?
They say, yeah, more than you think. Captions can give context, highlight those unique things about your place, even kind of subtly influence how guests feel about it.
Okay, now I'm really intrigued. How do they do that?
A little bit of psychology involved. If
Yeah.
you use language that evokes a feeling, right? Like, imagine yourself sipping coffee on this peaceful patio. You're helping guests picture themselves there.
And then they're more likely to book.
Exactly. But they do say keep it short and sweet. Like, one line, ideally. Don't want to distract from the photo itself.
Short, sweet, and get some feel in things. All right, I can work with that. Wow, we've covered so much ground today. Staging, camera settings, editing, even psychology. My mind is blown.
Mission accomplished. You've got all the tools now to make those Airbnb photos really sing.
Speaking of insights, I think it's time for that signature deep dive moment. That final thought to leave our listeners pondering. Going through all this, it really hit me. Taking great Airbnb photos isn't just about the technical stuff.
It's about, like, intention.
Yeah. You got to think about what makes your place special and then capture that in the photos.
You're building a story. Visually, inviting people to actually experience your place.
Exactly. And that story starts with what makes your property unique.
What's going to make those guests say, oh, I got to stay there?
Is it the fireplace? The view? Maybe a chef's kitchen? Or could be something like you can't quite see it. The feeling you get in the space. Peaceful, tranquil, whatever it is.
And once you've figured that out, then you plan the photo shoot.
So it's not just like randomly snapping pics. There's a vision behind it.
Thinking about angles, the light, how each picture tells part of the story.
It's curating an experience almost.
Yeah, and that experience should get people excited, you know?
Make them feel like they're already there.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with a question.
Okay, hit me.
What's that one thing about your property? The thing you can't wait to capture in a photo and show it off to the whole world?
What's that one detail, that one angle, that one story that'll make people stop scrolling and say, this is the place?
Think about it, picture it, and then go make it happen.
Your future bookings will thank you for it. That's it for today's deep dive, everyone. We'll see you next time.